Greetings, everyone. Richard Solomon from Taking Care of Business. Today, we're going to be talking to Dan Cox, who's running for the city of Glen Cove City Council. Dan, welcome to the show. And I have to ask, I've noticed sort of a trend that regular people are beginning to enter into politics, probably because they really feel like they want to jump in and make a difference. Tell me about that with respect to you and this particular race in 2015.
Well, I think you're right. I think a lot of people are drifting away from politics because it was getting ugly and it was getting, difficult, and people weren't understanding the process. But I think many people now are starting to drift back towards it, or at least some of us are drifting back towards it, because we've reached a point in our lives where we got to say, I'd really like to try to do something to make a difference. And for me, locally, it's a lot easier than taking on, let's say, Congress or the Senate or the Assembly up in Albany. I want to do something locally for my neighbors, for my community. At this point in my life, I felt it was a good time for me. Now, I've always followed politics since I'm a teenager. And at that time, I said to myself, I'm going to run for office one day. But, life gets in the way, and you have family, and you realize, unless you want to be a career politician, which is not what I wanted to be, you wait. You wait until a time where you can feel you can put in the time to do the job correctly, to be part of the process, and do honest work. And for me, public service has always been part of my life anyhow. For 22 years, I was on the board of directors of the local soccer club, running the soccer club. I've served on the Master Plan Commission here in Glen Cove. I serve currently on the Recreation Commission for the city of Glen Cove, which I picked up a year and a half ago. So it's just the logical next step in my life as far as public service, but it has that political and governmental element added to it.
Now, with all this experience in Glen Cove, how is it running a campaign? Because I would even, if someone said to me, how would you do it? Hey, be the campaign manager. I wouldn't even know the first thing. I wouldn't even know what term to Google, and I wouldn't know what book to get from the library.
I think if you remember Tip O'Neill, the former Speaker of the House.
Sure.
He said the one thing that makes complete sense in politics, at least from our side, all politics is local. And in local politics, the big difference is these are my neighbors. These are people I've known. I didn't grow up in Glen Cove, but I've lived here for over 22 years. These are people I've come to know. We know each other. It's not a big community. I mean, it's a small city, but we know each other. Our kids grew up together. So when you run a campaign in a place like this, I'm going door to door. My running mates and I are going door to door, knocking on doors, saying hello, giving out some small pieces of literature, going to every local event that happens in town that we've gone to for 20 years. But now, instead of being there as just another guy in the crowd or someone who might be running the event, you're now there as someone who's running for office. So you shake hands, you say hello, you listen to the people. Like I knocked on a door the other day. This young man answered it, and I said, I'm running for city council. I'd really like your support. On November 3rd, I had a couple of my running mates with me, and they spoke. And he said to me, look, I have a problem. I really want you to help me out with this. And I'm not going to go into the problem because it was something he wanted taken care of. And I said, if I'm elected, I'll try to do whatever I can. But you want to know something? Even though I'm not elected, I'm going to go down to City Hall tomorrow. I'm going to be there tomorrow, and I'm going to mention this to the mayor and to the chief of police. And I did. And that was just being a neighbor. So I want to do that more on an official level as a councilman. And that's how local politics is, at least for us here in Glen Cove. It's shaking hands, it's saying hello, it's being, getting out and meeting your neighbors, the ones that you don't already know. You know what I'm saying?
So you said something in pre-production. You said something very interesting, which is this is a very unique race because there's something very different about the complexion of what we're looking at.
Well, yeah, I mean, not to go into too much detail, but we have three parties running for city council and for the mayor's position here in Glen Cove. There are two candidates for mayor. One candidate is being endorsed by both the Republican and the Democratic Party. A member of the Republican Party decided to splinter off and challenge the sitting mayor, the incumbent mayor, who is an independent, actually. He's not a registered Republican. He's an independent, but he's running on the Republican ticket. We on the Democratic side think he's done a good job. We'd like to give him another term and work with him, but also be the checks and balances because we're Democrats to make sure that he stays on the right path. But this third party decided to challenge him. They lost in the primary, so they created a third party line of their own. And now, for 6 seats in the city council that are open, there are 18 people running. So I'm running against 17 other people, 5 of which are in my party, and we hope to sweep. But we have 12 other people that we're going to be dealing with. So it's very unique in Glen Cove. It's the first time we've ever had a primary for anything, and it's the first time we've had this number of people running for office. So it's a very unique year in Glen Cove for politics.
How long is the term that you're elected to?
Only 2 years. And that's one of the issues that we've been talking about. As far as the city council is concerned, me personally, I'm not talking for the party now, a 2-year term is fine. But I think our mayor deserves a 4-year term because it's hard to get anything done in 12 or 14 months because you're starting into a campaign cycle again, which is much shorter here in Glen Cove. They run maybe 4 or 5 months as opposed to the national or the other areas. But we want him to have a 4-year term. As far as I'm concerned, the council should have 2-year terms. But the way it works out now, there's 2-year terms for everybody, and they're reelected wholesale every 2 years. So it's an interesting dynamic the way government runs here in Glen Cove.
So where do we go for social media information for your campaign and to say that we like you and all that other good stuff?
Well, we have a Facebook page which we primarily use for that kind of thing, and it's Facebook.com, and just search on Glen Cove Democrats, and you'll find information there about us.
All right, I'll see you at the victory party.
Thank you, Rich.